Okay, so we're ready to go back to the sewing machine. We're going to line up the side edge on the 1 or ½ inch mark. All right, so we're going to make a ½ inch seam along the edge. Okay. I'm going to take my pin out here. Yeah, I recommend you take the pin out. Sometimes the machine just goes over the pins, and sometimes the pins break your needle. So I would suggest taking the pin out and put your needle down. All right, so we're at the top edge and we're making a ½ inch seam. We're going to go forward and back, and then we're going to hold our side edges together, and you want to make sure you feel the elastic. You can feel it, all right? It's going to be away from your edge. Okay, you don't want to sew onto it at this point, except at the top. You're going to go through that quarter inch, and then along the edge there, so you can kind of feel the elastic along the top, and then it's out of the way when you're sewing the remainder of the seam. Okay, so we'll go. Okay, we'll stitch a couple, and then you can go back and run 3 stitches, and then forward again, and that's really securing the edge. All right, and then okay, now I can feel the elastic here. All right, and I'm about halfway down the side seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom edge of the elastic, and I'm going to just pull on it a little bit. And it's going to bunch up at the top, that's fine. Alrighty, I just want to make sure the elastic is out of the way, except for the quarter inch at the bottom on the fold, at the fold line. Okay, and then I'm going to continue and complete that seam down to the bottom, and take my pin out, the little pressure on the elastic to hold it in place along that bottom edge. And then I'll go to the edge, and then I'm going to back stitch, and then forward. Okay, I can snip that close. All right, very good. Okay, now we're going to go over to the other edge, the other side, and we're going to start at the bottom. So I have that bottom folded edge. I'm holding on to the edge of the elastic, holding that in place. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to raise my needle. I line it up so I'm doing a ½ inch seam. Lower my needle. Hold on, a little pressure, holding the elastic in place. Now remove my pin. Alright, put my needle down. Line up my edges for my seam. I'm going to do a forward stitch and a back stitch. So forward, back, back, and then forward to sew the seam. Again, I'm making sure that my elastic is out of the way. My edges are together. I'm making a 1-inch seam. Okay. My needle's down. Going to now this is actually the top edge of the mask. I'm going to pull on the elastic, and I'm holding the edge, making sure that it's okay if this top bunches up a little bit. That's fine, that's what it should look like. And got the elastic out of the way, and I'm going to complete the seam down to the bottom and then backstitch. I'll continue with my 1-inch seam. If you feel like the elastic's getting in your way, you don't want to go over it, put your needle down, and then in this case I do want to get that. My elastic was kind of in my way. Let me just make sure I'm not going to be sewing through it. The only place I want to sew through it is at the very edge here. Okay, good. All right, and then I'm going to continue, pull it a little bit. I'm going to continue with that seam and finish it and then backstitch. Take my pin out. The edge and then backstitch. And then fold. And then cut it close. All right, so that's what it should look like. And cut your threads, trim your threads. All right, trim these threads. Because you're back stitched to the very edge, it's not going anywhere. It's reinforced, and you can trim your threads close. All right, so that's what it would look like. So now what we're going to do is turn it right side out. So we have the little pocket. All right, we're going to push the inside to the outside. Okay. Now, if you want to, I like to use the ruler to just sort of, I put that through, and I just want to gently push my ruler against the side edge in the corner. Same thing on the other side. Yeah, if you want, you can just use the ruler to iron, or finger iron the edge. Or you can definitely, you have your iron, you can iron the edge, and iron the side, and iron the bottom. Okay. All right, so here we have, this is, you're looking at the inside, and there's the pocket. Alrighty. I'm gonna put it with the pocket side facing up. Alright, and now we're going to take our ruler and we're going to mark at 1 inch intervals. So we're going to put 6 marks on the side at 1 inch intervals. Let's see. Alright, so that's 1 inch. That's the 2nd inch. 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Okay. I'm going to get a different marker because I'm realizing that it's probably going to be hard for you to see what I did. So I'm just going to grab a different marker. Better. Chalk marker probably would have been the best. I don't really have that right now. I wouldn't suggest you use the Sharpie, but I'll just do this so you can see the line clearly. Again, I'm using a dark fabric, so it probably would have been better to have a lighter color chalk marker. Okay, so we mark that on that side, and then from the top, on this side, we are going to mark at 1/2 inch intervals. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we're going to make pleats. All right, so how we do that is you're going to start with the line on it'll be your right side, and you're going to fold on the line and bring it up. All right, so you're folding on like the 6th line, and you're bringing up to line number 5, and then take a pin and pin that in place. Okay, then you're going to go line number 4 and bring it up, fold on that line and bring that up to line number 3, and then take a pin and give that a pin through the pleat to hold that in place. Okay, then you're going to go to line number 2, fold on line number 2 and bring it up to line number 1 and use a pin to hold that in place. Okay, then you're going to go over to the left side, do the same thing on line number 6. All right, you're going to fold line number 6, bring it up to line number 5, and pin it in place. All right, then fold on line number 4, bring it up to line number 3, and pin it in place. Fold on line number 2, bring it up, and just put it right to line number 1, and fold that in place. Put a pin to hold it in place. Okay, so that's what it will look like. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the piece of wire, I'm going to use that pocket and open it up to insert the wire. Try not to bend it, it's okay if you do a little bit, but we're going to put that through, and we want the wire to rest against the top fold. So you want to put it right up against the inside top fold of the top fold. And it should be about an inch from the edge, from the side edge. And you're going to take a pin and just pin that right underneath it, right up against it, to hold that in place. Okay, now your wire is running across the top of the mask. Again, you've inserted the wire from the pocket in the back of the mask. And that's going to go over to about an inch from the edge. And then you can pin that in place. All right. Okay, so this is what the back of the mask looks like now, right? We've got the pins holding the pleats in place, and then we've got these top pins that are holding the wire in place. We're going to go over to the sewing machine, all right? And we could start at the bottom. Lift your needle. We're going to do a 1/2 inch seam along the side. Okay, so you're going to drop your foot and lower your needle. Okay, I'm going to remove the pin and hold the pleat in place, that first pleat. And then I'm going to stitch forward and back. Oh, I had that too wide. I want to make a 1/2 inch seam. All right, a 1/2 inch. There we go. And I'm going to go forward and then back all the way to the edge, all the way to the edge. Okay, so again, we're securing that elastic one more time. And then I'm going to sew straight to the edge. And then I'm going to turn and go along the top. We're going to pivot and go along the top. So we'll stop when we get to the top of this side. We need to do the 1 inch, a 1 inch seam. My machine's making some funny noise because it's going through so many layers, but that's okay. Okay, then when I get very close to the top, about, you know, as wide as your pipe cleaner, or as wide as your piece of wire, I'm going to pivot, and now I'll go along the top edge. So my presser foot is going along the edge of the fabric. All right, so I am going to be sewing fairly close to the top there. And I'm using my presser foot along the edge of the fabric as my guide. And I'm going to take the pin out there, and I'm using my fingers to, you know, I can feel that the wire is up tight against the edge the inside of that fold. I'm just going to go across the top. Take out my pin. And then when I get to the end, towards the end, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam down that side. It's a little more difficult in a sense because you're kind of going against the folds. So just be careful to hold the fold down with your fingers. Keep your fingers out of the way there from the, but you want to just take your time with this side. And again, it's a 1/2 inch seam along this edge. Okay. And when I get to the bottom, I'm going to back stitch. And then forward. Remove it. I can snip it close there. All right. Snip it close here where I started. Okay, so that's what it looks like on the front, and that's what it looks like on the back. I'm gonna iron it. Okay, and now to reinforce it, I want to sew down these side edges again to keep those pleats in place. So I'm going to take still working from the back. I'm going to make another row, another line, stitch a line right down the center between the first row of stitches and the edge of the fabric, and this will hold, further hold those pleats in place. And I'm going to stitch forward and then stitch back and then go all the way to the end and stitch forward and stitch back. Now I use the white thread so you could see what I'm doing. If you want, going forward, if you want to use a color to match the fabric, then the stitches wouldn't be so obvious. But that's what that looks like. And then on the other side, again, I'm going to make a line, so a line right between the edge of the fabric and the row of stitching that I have already there. Okay, I'm gonna lower my needle, stitch forward, stitch back, Okay, so that's the mask. If you want to, you can use a filter. I have a piece of filter right here. This is a non-woven fabric that's used for an interfacing. There are other ideas for what type of filter you can use, but if you decide you want to use a filter, you could cut the piece. This piece is 4 inches by 3 inches, all right, and that would fit right inside from the back. So I'm going to find my little opening in the back, and then I can just put that filter inside. You can decide, what you want to use, or if you want to use anything. It's a little, depending on what type of a filter you're using, the mask can get very warm on your face. So I prefer not to have a filter, but you can decide what you want to do, and you have that option of inserting a filter. Okay. All right. And then you can see, I'll just show you what that would look like. Done. Okay, so that's how it goes. And happy sewing, and I hope it was helpful. And we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.